The Star Forge was a technological marvel of the ancient Rakata Infinite Empire, a construct imbued with dark side energy and capable of producing massive fleets and armies at an unparalleled rate. For Revan, the Jedi Knight turned Sith Lord, and then redeemed savior, the Star Forge represented both an opportunity and a temptation. The hypothetical scenario in which Revan fully embraced the Star Forge's power to crush the Sith Empire raises complex questions about morality, strategy, and the balance of power in the galaxy. If Revan had chosen to use the Star Forge to its fullest potential, his actions would have redefined the galaxy's fate. After rediscovering the ancient construct, Revan could have directed its near-limitless production capabilities to amass a fleet that surpassed anything the Sith Empire or Republic could have hoped to counter. Unlike the dark visions of malice that consumed the Sith Lords, Revan's use of the Star Forge might have been calculated and pragmatic, focused solely on eliminating the Sith Empire as a threat. To begin with, Revan's knowledge of the Sith Empire, gained during his time as Darth Revan, provided him with an unparalleled understanding of its structure, weaknesses, and leadership. By using the Star Forge, he could manufacture fleets and deploy them strategically, targeting the heart of the Sith war machine. His campaigns would likely involve simultaneous strikes on key worlds and supply lines, isolating and neutralizing the Empire's most powerful forces. This level of coordination would be beyond the capabilities of any conventional military, but with the Star Forge, such precision would be possible. The Sith Empire, for all its strength, relied heavily on infighting and the ambitions of its leaders. This lack of unity would play directly into Revan's hands. By exploiting the divisions within the Empire, he could have orchestrated situations where Sith Lords turned on one another, weakening their defenses. In a short span, Revan's forces, bolstered by the limitless armadas of the Star Forge, could have reduced the Empire's once mighty presence to scattered remnants. However, the ethical implications of Revan's decision would be profound. The Star Forge was not a neutral tool. It was steeped in the dark side of the Force, corrupting those who sought to control it. Even someone as disciplined and intelligent as Revan would not be immune to its influence. By harnessing its power, he risked becoming what he sought to destroy, a tyrant wielding unlimited power under the guise of justice. Would the galaxy trade one oppressive Sith Empire for another, even if Revan's intentions were noble? Furthermore, Revan's choice would likely provoke dissent among his allies. Bastila Shan, Carth Onasi, and others who fought beside him during his redemption would not stand idly by if they believed he was succumbing to the same darkness he once embraced. Their resistance might create a new schism, forcing Revan to either justify his actions or suppress opposition within his own ranks. Such a divide could jeopardize the very unity needed to ensure the Sith Empire's defeat. The larger galactic consequences of such a strategy cannot be understated. The Star Forge's production capabilities, if fully unleashed, could overwhelm not only the Sith Empire but also the Galactic Republic. Even after the Sith were defeated, Revan would face the challenge of what to do with the vast resources at his disposal. Would he dismantle the fleets, risking a future where the galaxy was unprepared for external threats? Or would he keep them intact, inadvertently establishing himself as an all-powerful ruler? Another factor to consider is how other factions and powers within the galaxy would respond. The Mandalorians, Hutts, and various independent systems would view Revan's burgeoning armada with suspicion, if not outright hostility. This could lead to a series of conflicts that would further destabilize the galaxy. Even the Jedi Order, staunch defenders of peace and balance, might see Revan as a threat, potentially sparking another civil war. The hypothetical use of the Star Forge to defeat the Sith Empire is ultimately a tale of duality. On one hand, Revan's decision to embrace its power could bring about the swift and decisive end to a brutal war, saving countless lives in the process. On the other, it could plunge the galaxy into a new era of darkness, where the line between savior and oppressor is blurred. If Revan's character and history teach us anything, it is that he is a figure of contradictions. A Jedi who defied the Council, a Sith Lord who sought unity, and a redeemed hero willing to confront his past. In this alternate scenario, his choice to wield the Star Forge would embody these contradictions, offering a resolution that, while effective, would come at an immense cost. Continue. The cost of such a decision would extend far beyond the immediate destruction of the Sith Empire. The Star Forge's influence, rooted in the dark side, would not only affect Revan but ripple through the fabric of the galaxy. Its corruptive energies could intensify the suffering and fear that already permeated the war-torn galaxy. Planets devastated by its relentless fleets might come to see Revan as a conqueror rather than a liberator, fostering resentment and rebellion among those who once supported him. Revan's ability to navigate this complex moral and political terrain would determine whether his use of the Starforge was ultimately a triumph or a tragedy. For all his brilliance, his reliance on the Forge would likely create a scenario where he could not simply relinquish power once the Sith were defeated. The galaxy would demand strong leadership to rebuild, and Revan, having assumed control of such an overwhelming force, would find it difficult to step aside without leaving a dangerous vacuum. Another critical aspect of this scenario is the relationship between Revan and the Jedi Order. Historically, the Jedi were wary of unchecked power, particularly when it intersected with the dark side. Revan's use of the Starforge, even with the noble intention of defeating the Sith, would alienate him from the Jedi. The Council might see him as a fallen hero who, despite his redemption, had embraced the very tools of their enemies. This schism could lead to a prolonged and bitter conflict between Revan and the Order, undermining the unity needed to rebuild the galaxy. The Starforge's role as a symbol cannot be overlooked. To the galaxy at large, it represents a legacy of oppression and destruction from the Rakatan era. By using it, Revan would unintentionally perpetuate that legacy, even if his actions were directed toward noble ends. The populace might struggle to reconcile their support for Revan's cause with their fear of the weapon he wielded. This tension could manifest in widespread unrest, making it even harder for Revan to consolidate peace. If Revan managed to retain his integrity and resist the Starforge's corrupting influence, his eventual decision regarding its fate would be crucial. Dismantling or destroying the Forge would signal his commitment to the principles of freedom and balance, but doing so would also leave the galaxy vulnerable to future threats. On the other hand, preserving it as a deterrent could ensure stability but at the cost of perpetuating its dark legacy. The Sith Empire's destruction, while a laudable goal, would not erase the ideologies that sustained it. The dark side, ever present in the galaxy, would find new adherents and champions. Revan's use of the Starforge might inadvertently inspire future Sith to seek out similar artifacts of power, perpetuating the cycle of conflict. In this way, his choice would have implications far beyond his lifetime, shaping the course of galactic history for centuries. Ultimately, the scenario in which Revan uses the Starforge to defeat the Sith Empire is a study in the complexity of power. It underscores the dangers of relying on overwhelming force to achieve peace, the difficulty of balancing moral principles with pragmatic decisions, and the challenge of rebuilding in the aftermath of war. Revan's story, already a tale of redemption and sacrifice, would take on an even greater significance, highlighting the thin line between heroism and tyranny. In the end, the galaxy might remember Revan not as a savior or conqueror, but as a reminder of the perils of power unchecked. His legacy would be a cautionary tale for future generations, a testament to the enduring struggle between light and dark in the galaxy. If Revan had chosen to wield the Starforge's full potential against the Sith Emperor and his forces at Dromund Kaas, the battle would represent a monumental clash of strategic brilliance, logistical supremacy, and the raw power of the dark side. This engagement would not only shape the outcome of the war but also test the limits of what a commander can achieve when given effectively infinite resources. Dromund Kaas, the heart of the Sith Empire, was a fortress world. Protected by dense orbital defenses, powerful Sith fleets, and an atmosphere suffused with dark side energy, it was among the most fortified locations in the galaxy. The Sith Emperor, Darth Vitiate, had ruled for centuries and would undoubtedly leverage his vast knowledge of Sith sorcery, military tactics, and the Force to its fullest extent. Any attempt to assault the planet would face nearly insurmountable resistance. Revan, however, commanding the Starforge's infinite supply of ships and droids, would be uniquely positioned to overcome these obstacles. The Forge's capacity to produce massive fleets in record time would allow Revan to field an armada orders of magnitude larger than the Sith could ever hope to muster. This logistical advantage would be the cornerstone of his strategy. Revan's fleet composition would likely consist of a blend of capital ships, frigates, and fighters, supported by legions of droid soldiers designed for planetary invasion. His tactical approach would emphasize overwhelming the Sith's defensive perimeters through sheer numbers and relentless waves of attacks. The Star Forge would enable him to sustain these assaults indefinitely, replenishing losses faster than the Sith could destroy his forces. The battle would begin with a massive fleet engagement in Dromund Kaas's orbit. The Sith defenses, though formidable, would struggle to hold against the endless waves of Star Forge-produced ships. Revan's strategy would likely involve simultaneous strikes at key points in the Sith defensive grid, using his intimate knowledge of their tactics and formations to exploit weaknesses. He might deploy automated droid-controlled ships to probe for vulnerabilities, sacrificing them without hesitation to identify openings. The Sith fleet, while outnumbered, would fight with desperation and cunning. The presence of powerful Sith lords commanding their forces through the Force could bolster morale and coordination, potentially enabling them to punch above their weight. The Emperor himself, though unlikely to participate directly in the space battle, might use his dark side powers to disrupt Revan's fleet, creating chaos and confusion among his forces. Once Revan's fleet established orbital superiority, the next phase of the battle would involve ground invasion. The droid armies produced by the Star Forge would be deployed in massive numbers, descending on Dromund Kaas's surface in waves. Here, the Sith defenders would leverage the planet's natural and artificial defenses, including Sith fortresses, planetary shields, and entrenched armies of Sith troops and Sith apprentices. The dark side energy suffusing the planet would likely give the defenders a psychological and tactical edge, amplifying their abilities and resolve. Revan would need to counter these advantages with strategic precision. Droid forces, while lacking the creativity and adaptability of organic soldiers, could overwhelm the defenders through attrition. Revan might also deploy specialized units designed to neutralize the Sith's dark side powers, using technology or tactics to disrupt their ability to channel the Force. His own presence on the battlefield, as a Force user of unparalleled skill, would be crucial in countering the Emperor's influence. The confrontation between Revan and the Sith Emperor would be the climax of the battle. Vitiate's mastery of the dark side and his ability to manipulate minds and drain life on a planetary scale would make him a nearly unstoppable opponent. Revan, however, would bring not only his combat prowess but also his deep understanding of the Emperor's psychology and methods. Their duel would likely determine the outcome of the entire campaign, as the Sith forces would collapse without the Emperor's leadership. Despite the logistical advantages provided by the Star Forge, the battle would not be without challenges for Revan. Coordinating such a massive force would strain even his strategic genius, and the Star Forge's dark influence might compromise his decision-making. The longer the battle dragged on, the greater the risk that Revan's forces would begin to reflect the ruthless and dehumanized nature of their creation. In the end, the assault on Dromund Kaas would be a test of endurance, ingenuity, and willpower. Revan's ability to leverage the Star Forge's limitless resources against the Emperor's dark side-fueled defenses would define the battle, with the outcome determining the fate of the Sith Empire and the galaxy.